Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the meeting. I'd like to welcome Batley Girls High School to our meeting. I hope you're enjoying your visit with Josh and Michelle, and I hope you enjoy our meeting. So the first item on the agenda is membership of the committee.
There's no apologies for absence, Chair.
Thank you. Item number 2 then, minutes of the previous meeting. Do you agree that they're a true record? Moved by Councillor Sokol, second by Councillor First. Thank you. Item number 3, declarations of interest and lobbying. Councillor Sokol.
None, Chair.
Councillor Firth.
None, Chair.
None, Chair. None, Chair.
Thank you.
Just go back to membership just to clarify, Donna.
Yeah.
I could just clarify, Chair, Councillor Donna Bellamy is present today, but she's speaking as a ward member. So we've accepted apologies for absence, but she'll be speaking in another capacity today.
Thank you for the clarity, Andrea. Okay. Item number 4, admission of the public. Fine. Item number 5, public questions. I think there is any. 6, deputations and petitions.
None, Chair.
Thank you. Item 7 is the site visit, which I can confirm we attended this morning. Which brings us on to item number 9, the application at Marsh Gardens, page number 7. Ready whenever you are, John.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, my name's John Holmes and I'm presenting this application for change of use of the existing building and site from a general industrial use to a storage and distribution use. This application is brought to Planning Committee at the request of Councillor Bellamy. This drawing shows the layout of the site. The application building itself is this one here, and then there's a yard area just here. And this drawing shows how vehicles would access the yard area and also how parking would be laid out within it. This shows a photograph of the site when viewed from Marsh Gardens. And this is a photograph of the other access point from Marsh Gardens. These photos show the building itself and the intended access point, which is down here. This shows the approach to along Marsh Gardens with the building located here on this photograph. And the 2 access points are in here and also further down the road just in here. And this is an aerial image of the site which shows the route of a right-of-way which runs to the front of the building. And it also shows the building itself and the area which would be used for turning and parking. So the site's within a strategic green infrastructure network within the Kirklees local plan and falls within the Home Valley Neighbourhood Development Plan area. As set out in the committee report, the principle of development is considered to be acceptable. 11 objections and 1 general comment have been received, and the contents of which is summarised and addressed within the committee report. Consultations were undertaken with the Council's Highways team and Environmental Health team, who raised no objections subject to conditions. West Yorkshire Police were also consulted and raised no objection. The development is considered to have an acceptable visual impact subject to condition that no external storage is undertaken. And in terms of impact upon the amenity of residents, on the basis the hours of use are restricted to 8 till 6 Monday to Saturday and 10 till 4 on Sundays and bank holidays, the development is considered to be acceptable. Further information has been submitted as part of the application to address matters relating to highway safety, including a turning and swept path plan and also parking layout. The Highways team confirmed that they have no objection to the proposal on the basis of this further information. To ensure the impacts upon highway safety is acceptable, conditions are recommended, requiring that the parking and turning areas would be provided and that vehicles do not exceed 3.5 tonnes in weight and would therefore be of a suitable size in relation to the constraints of the site. Subject to inclusion of a further condition restricting the use to storage and distribution, it's considered that the impacts of the development can be suitably controlled and would lead to an increased level of control by the local planning authority, taking account of the existing lawful use of the site for general industrial purposes, which can take place in any event. On the basis of the assessment as set out in the committee report, it's concluded that the impact of the change of use is not significant given the lawful use of the site, and subject to inclusion of the recommended conditions, approval is recommended. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, John. Before we go to the speakers, Councillor McGrath, can you confirm if you have any declarations of interest and lobbying? No. Thank you.
Mrs Woodage? Okay, so you've got 3 minutes.
Oh, thank you. Firstly, thank you for letting me speak, and secondly, I will have to leave as soon as I've spoken. I've written out, so I'll read what I've put. Having spent most of my 70 years living between Concord Street and finally One Marsh Gardens, I'm fully aware of the history of the area. Marsh Gardens is a cul-de-sac. It was a very quiet residential area. Over the years, since Bank Bottom Tool Company existed on the said plan, there has been built a junior school, a doctor's surgery, a block of over 50 years of age flats, 5 large detached houses and 3 linked detached houses, plus a current plan for 14 houses and a block of flats at T Moorhouse. Land, incidentally, the entrance of this plan was going to be on Marsh Gardens but had to be changed to Concord Street because of the access problems on Marsh Gardens, i.e. the width of the road, which is 11 foot 9 inches now because of parking that's been allowed and traffic safety. To sum up, Marsh Gardens is a residential area, and referring back to 4 Marsh Gardens, that is Bank Bottom Engineering Works, which we're discussing today, the Bank Bottom Engineering Works existed before all these said houses were built. It existed in a rural area and made small components, certainly never had large vehicles visiting. There is no question of the site having room for parking vehicles. The question is the size of the vehicles to the site. And this is the issue. 16.5 metre articulated vehicles are very regularly trying to reverse and manoeuvre on Marsh Gardens, causing much disruption. The council has allowed parking on one side of Marsh Gardens, which means only one side of the road is available, which is 11 foot 9 inches, obviously not suitable for articulated vehicles. I have been witness to them ruining them, breaking the new footpath edges, blocking the road to the surgery and worryingly holding up an ambulance access to the surgery. Also, the whole area around this works is actually public land, and pedestrians use it very, very regularly. My understanding of B8 storage that they're wanting is distribution is that they do not comply mainly with residential areas. B8, as you will know, the applications must be in locations accessible in industrial parks, such as industrial estates, because of the increased disruption to the traffic and leading to the congestion and safety issues in residential areas. Also, the application is requiring the hours of, I understood, 7 till 7 Monday to Friday, Saturday and Sunday 7 till 2. Not suitable, particularly noise in residential areas. 4 Marsh Gardens Works is not suitable for these 16.5 articulated vehicles. Highways are stating to allow this application with a condition that they're restricting it to 3,500 smaller vehicles, in other words, like a transit, a Luton van. This is not acceptable because for the last 12 months this was supposed to be happening, but these size of vehicles have never been used. They've been using these large 16.5 Arctics. There's been no one to police this condition, and this would be the case. It's noticeable this company has been abusing the regulations for over 12 months, trading on the B2 storage. We would appreciate you would look again at this, particularly at the disruption and the width of the road, as I say, 11 foot 9 inches.
Thank you. That's your three minutes.
Oh.
Actually, I've given you an extra 30 seconds as well, so...
Oh, right. I just wish you would look at the application again because of the safety
Of
issues.
course. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Do you mind if I leave because I have an urgent doctor's appointment? And thank you very much. Thank you.
Speaker, Councillor Donna Bellamy, 5 minutes. No problem.
Thank you, Chair. I don't think I'll need 5 minutes. So thank you for allowing me to speak today. And you've just heard the heartfelt objection from a local resident, and I fully do support their concerns. And I'll avoid trying to repeat what they've said, but I do want to add some further context from my role as a ward councillor, particularly around the unsuitability of access and lack of confidence in the enforceability of this application. This application has caused significant concern locally, and rightly so. The road serving this site is narrow due to the parking, and it is residential and already under pressure. When the building was previously used as a bakery, it was only small vans were used for deliveries, vehicles that were manageable within the layout of the surrounding streets. Now, despite the applicant stating that the site will be accessed by transit vans only, as you've heard, and I've seen, there's been clear evidence of HGVs using this site. And residents have provided photos and reports of this happening multiple times. So this suggests a pattern of behaviour, and it's not a one-off, and gives little reassurance that such a condition would be respected going forward. Which brings me to a crucial question: how will this be monitored and enforced? Planning conditions are only as effective as the council's ability to enforce them. Given the current pressures on enforcement and resources, it's difficult to see how ongoing access by larger vehicles could realistically be prevented. And by the time enforcement action is triggered, the risk to pedestrian safety, damage to pavements and the daily disruption will have already occurred. The site is adjacent to both a primary school entrance, which is at the end, and a doctor's surgery. These are places where people, including children and vulnerable residents, need to move safely on foot. We've also seen repeated issues with vehicles mounting pavements to turn and blocking marsh gardens, creating hazards and cutting off residents' access. The proposal does not respect the constraints of the site, and it's certainly done to line with policy LP21 in terms of highway safety, sustainable access and impact on residential amenity. So, Chair, members, this is not just about one site, it's about the suitability of developments in our communities and our responsibility to protect public safety and the quality of life. So I would urge you to refuse this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bellamy. So it's over to the committee for comments, please. Councillor Firth.
Before I make my comments, I would like our officer to answer some of those points that the objector and Councillor Bellamy has raised.
So in terms of enforceability, ultimately we have to determine the planning application on its merits, and if conditions can be imposed which meet the 6 tests, which includes enforceability, being precise, being necessary, relevant to the development that's proposed, then we need to use those conditions rather than seek to go another route, which would be a refusal, which could most likely be subject to a successful appeal. If any reason that we refuse has to be justifiable, and if there is a condition that we can use, which is such as those which are recommended in this case, then that's the route that we have to take as a local planning authority.
Thank you. Kirsty, have you got?
Yeah, I just wanted to pick up on a couple of points that you were specifically asking to be answered. So, as you will notice when we went out on site today, there was a large vehicle that was within the site. So, as part of this plan, this planning application, we've got specific conditions that are now, as John relates to, monitoring that and controlling that, which at the present time we don't have. So the current size, obviously, they're free to do as they wish with the ingress and egress of vehicles. But the current condition 5 is that it cannot exceed 3,500 kilograms, which I'm led to believe is a sort of white van, sprinter van size, so significantly less than the size that when we were out on site. In terms of the hours of permitted use for customers, which was raised by the objector and Councillor Bellamy as well, these will be 8 till 6, Monday to Saturday, which are your sort of general hours really that we would see standard hours, and 10 till 4 Sunday and bank holidays. And again, these are sort of standard conditions that we would environment for hours of operation. The other conditions that we have, which I would advise members that we don't currently have on the site, it does have legitimate use for a B2 use, is that a noise management plan and other issues to do with parking and the turning areas to be lined out. So I think that answers all the questions there. In terms of the enforceability, right now we have no powers to enforce what is happening there. And I think what I would say is that you could see this as somewhat of a betterment of the site because we're able to control through these suggested conditions that we've put on the application.
Thank you, Kirsty. Councillor Sokol.
Chair, can I ask the objector, the woman who spoke, she still mentioned opening time 7 till 7 and 7 till 2, but the officer mentioned 8 till 6, yeah? Is that time, opening time changed after this report, or?
So the hours which we've set out are those which we would recommend are imposed to ensure that it has an acceptable impact on residential amenity. The applicant's agent is aware of the conditions that are recommended and has not raised any issue with them and has agreed to them, essentially. So those would be the hours that would be imposed. 8 till 6 and then 10 till 4 on Sunday and bank holidays. Yeah.
Yeah. I know this is an industrial building. The business is going on for some time. Nearby there is a Moore house, there another hall here. And when I went on site to visit, yeah, I didn't see any problem reversing that lorry over there because we our own bus turned around there. And if we got no refusal from any utility authority, our own authority, highways are recommending approval, and other environment and other, they all are recommending to approval. My only worry, this is industrial place going on. If we refuse this application today, it might go to appeal. They won the appeal very easily, and it will cost a lot of money to the council for nothing. So I'm not against the application.
Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of points. Councillor Bellamy did mention about how do we police this, and do the present owners have to have a log, if you like, of vehicles that do access the site and egress the site, so incoming, outgoing. Do they have to keep a log? And if so, I would like that to be conditioned. It would be easier, if you like, to enforce any issues that came about. You've stated that there will be no more HGVs entering the site going forward, which I think is great for the local people in that area. Obviously, with the previous use, there were lots of these small vans coming in and out all the time and didn't raise an issue. although I am aware that the surrounding areas have been developed over the many years that this unit has been there. I can't see any problem with this site, and I know it's early stages yet, but I would like to move the officer recommendation. Okay.
So the application has been moved by Councillor Firth. Councillor McGrath, Kirsty, do you want to come in now and then we'll get...
It's up to you.
All right. Well, to be honest, I'll second that, which seems odd on the basis that I kind of, obviously, I'm a ward councillor of that area. But the reason for it is the very reasons the complaints were coming in is the one thing that you can now police on the back of this application, right? So all the issues they had with large vehicles currently is completely legal and can happen and can get worse. In fact, if they were to do better as a business, there could be 50 HGVs doing that route every day. But once this application goes through, we can monitor it and bring it down. But there was a comment, and I think Eric picked it up just before I'd hit the button there, that was, do we think our enforcement team is fit for purpose to deal with something like this as quickly as possible? So my concern is, we put this one thing in and we say, right, you can no longer have HGVs whatsoever. So the residents are like, actually, I like that. And then they watch HGVs come in, put complaints in, and then, I don't know, have to wait 3 years before it's picked up on. And so they live in 3 years of hell. So my concerns are, what do we think, let's say, for 5 consecutive days once this operation starts, there are HGVs delivering it. What would be a reasonable amount of time for action to be taken on the side of the residents for when breaches happen? Is there a time scale? Is there a situation where you say, if you log your complaint and you have photos and a registration number, because the residents will want to know how to complain first of all, because they've now got something to complain about. Previously, it's not a complaint that's valid because you're allowed HGVs to use that site. So I think the main thing is to keep the residents happy and say, well, you're going to have no HGVs now, and if there is, this is how you deal with it, and this is how the council will deal with it from it coming in. Because alleviating their fears is going to be the key point here. We're dealing with the complaints of residents in my ward, and I want them to know that we're on their side if a breach happens. There's no breaches happening now, but it will be a breach. The things you don't like can't happen in the future. But because of that, I back this because it does give them a genuine reason to complain about large lorries, whereas at the minute they just don't like them, whereas now it will be a breach of planning. So just the main one for me is making sure the enforcement is fit for purpose, we have the staffing levels to deal with it, and we know exactly what will happen when somebody puts a complaint in.
Thank you, Councillor McGrath. So the application has been formally moved by Councillor Firth and seconded by Councillor McGrath. Councillor Lee-Richards.
I was only going to ask about the width of the road. The lady mentioned 11 feet, which I think is approximately 3 metres. Is that too narrow anyway for an HGV to be delivering? I mean, I would be happy to support this with the restriction to the smaller vehicles delivering the sprinters, because I know how narrow that road is. I park there when I go to meetings on a Monday, so I've seen the traffic, just trying to get to and from the doctors and the local school, etc. And it has been developed quite a lot in recent years. So I would support it with the restrictions that have been mentioned by the ward councillors.
Thank you, Chair. So what I'm getting is that you're looking for not just a condition about the specific size of a vehicle, it's how we would monitor that. Now, again, I would stress again about the test that I always, advise members on of the test of conditions that would have to be met. And it's whether members are satisfied, one, that it's reasonable, that it's necessary, that it is enforceable. We could look to have what we would suggest a service management plan, but the specific detail of that, I'm a bit concerned about having it detailing how, obviously we can have how people would make complaints, they would make it to the company first, and if that wasn't forthcoming, they would come to us. We have had that on sort of larger scale sites, but it's whether it's reasonable for us to put it on, whether it's necessary, and again, the applicant, I'm just advising the applicant could appeal that condition, and again, there would be the ramifications of costs. So it's whether you would want a specific service management plan condition put on, but it's that specific wording that I would just possibly advise members on to be to think about.
If that service plan were to be put on the approval, if they're not planning on breaching it, what would be the ramifications on that business, and why would they want to appeal it? Sorry, you're saying would it be necessary and they could appeal it, but why would they wish to appeal it?
No, what I'm saying is that when you add a condition onto any planning application, you have to be satisfied it meets the tests. But you can't just appeal a decision on a planning application. You can appeal a condition on said planning application. So they might feel that it doesn't meet those tests, that it's overly onerous on them. It was just to warn and advise members that there is that mechanism as well.
Thank you. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Chair. Can I come back on a logging system? I can't see it being unreasonable for this unit to log in the registration numbers and the time of the vehicles that are coming to unload, and by the same token, they'll have a system already when it's going out for deliveries. So would that be unreasonable to keep a record that's available for public inspection of our officers to look at in case an objection was received for a breach of the conditions as they are? I think not, but I respect your decision.
No.
We can include it, it's just you've got to think about the specifics of that. So if you're saying that they monitor, they keep a log of how many vehicles are coming and going, who's checking that and who's then, do you see what I'm saying? Because if you've got a condition that it has to be specific, to vehicles 3,500 kilograms, only 3 a day, or they have to monitor it, that's where I'm trying to make you think of those tests that we'd have to
Can
reach.
I just come back to you?
Yeah.
If I had a business there and I were receiving goods in, I would want to know what time that vehicle arrived. I want to know what's on it, and I want the registration of the number and the time. That will be done as a matter of course. I expect that. I would fully expect that. When they're delivering to customers, I want to know when you are taking a van out and where you're delivering to and what time it's going and the registration. That would be a matter of course. It's dead easy to do. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I hope you don't feel like I was disagreeing. It's just, it was just to get you to get down to that detail as to that's what you would want the condition, rather than a wider someone standing there with a clipboard, tallying how many are coming in and out. We could think about some wording in terms of...
I think that would be a normal business, but if they're putting a book that would be visible for yourselves to see, the inspector would receive a complaint, you could go on there and check.
Councillor Moore. Thank you, Councillor Firth.
Thank you. I agree with Eric completely, and I think there's already systems in place. They'll have a goods in book where goods are coming in, and then they'll have dispatch notes where stuff's going out. I've worked for a pharmaceutical packaging company. It's very straightforward. Those documents will already be in place, and it would be very easy just to put a reg on those documents.
Yeah, so just to be clear, what you're saying is, in addition to the conditions that are recommended, you would want an additional condition that basically says that you want a log of all vehicles that come and go in association with deliveries and collection, deliveries and collections, and basically you want that available for inspection by the local planning authority, should it be requested at any given time.
That covers us for local residents. Say, I've seen a huge wagon coming at Waterford on a Tuesday afternoon. And you can say, well, we're not supposed to do that. A call from our inspectors, our planning inspector, saying, what's this about vehicle coming at Waterford? And the residents, the complainants, will have a registration number.
Okay, yeah, we can include that as an additional condition on any grant of submission.
Sorry, just to come back to that.
Sorry, 1 minute.
Sorry, I was just going to go down the route of, obviously we're using like 1960s technology of writing registration plates down with pens here. Could we not, because certainly when I worked in the bar trade, there was, to get a license, you had to show that you had CCTV. That would fix it. So can there be a condition that sacks off all of this and just says CCTV footage is available for 14 days or something along those lines, which makes it much simpler, less arduous and more, more reasonable to record, to no manpower. I don't know, it just seems like a bit of a better system than relying upon people, because that's open to error, people writing down a registration plate. Oh, that's a big lorry, I'm not going to note that one down because that's breaking the rules. Whereas, just to request CCTV of the entry seems a lot more reasonable.
That the CCTV that's going sort of slightly over and above. I understand the detail, but could I maybe suggest that we've obviously taken those details and we could, you could delegate back to us as officers to work through agreeing a service plan or a management plan of how they would, monitor those vehicles incoming and going. I think I understand the details. It's just that we could have in there, it could be as open as we wanted, but it would have to be specific. But what I was thinking as well is that document, much like a construction management plan, would have details. If someone's got a complaint, this is the site manager that you go to, this is the details, that type of stuff. So what I'm thinking is that if those are all what you're asking for, you would delegate back to us, but we would add on the condition about a management plan of some regard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kirsty. I think that's naturally brought us to the end of that sort of discussion. I think it's been moved and seconded by Councillor Firth, Councillor McGrath, with that explicit caveat of the management plan that Eric and Tony referred to. So I don't think there are any further comments, Andrea. I think we'll go to the vote.
So the vote, okay, thanks, Chair. Councillor Sokol?
For.
Councillor Firth?
For.
Councillor Davies?
For.
Councillor Lee Richards? Councillor Moore?
For.
Councillor McGrath?
For.
Councillor Uller?
For.
So that's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. That's the end of the meeting. Thanks for attendance.